Hey guys, what's up? I've got my scrunchy headband on today. I hope you enjoy that. In today's video, we're going to focus in on some affordable holiday gift ideas, some of the different sets that e.l.f. has put out for the holiday season. I picked up a few. I got them from e.l.f.'s website, not to say you couldn't find them in different stores. I know some retailers probably carry some of this stuff, but I got a gift set and a couple of palettes, and I just wanted to dive in and try and review everything for you. I have been trying these palettes particularly for a few days already. And I also want to say, if you have found any other affordable gift idea options, if there's anything you've had your eye on and you've been wondering about, please let me know in the comments section, because some of this stuff, you know, if it's clearly online, maybe I've seen it, but if you've spotted it somewhere out in a store and it hasn't also been online, maybe I haven't run across that thing. So totally open to requests. As always, I like to be able to review both high-end and drugstore options around the holidays. So one set that I picked up, I had experience with some of the things and not others, but it's this Best of e.l.f. set. I kind of like the idea that they put out something just combining, I guess, some of their really popular products. So you take off this little guy, and they had something in here called the Total Face Sponge. Well, I put it in water. I haven't used this one yet. I'm going to use it this morning, but I got it damp and then got it all, you know, nicely wrung out, and it seems like a nice sponge. It seems super soft. It feels a lot like a Real Techniques sponge, but it really is not the original texture of e.l.f.'s Total Face Sponge, the one that you can buy just individually. Like, it's got a different texture that reminded me more of an actual beauty blender. It was a little more porous. It wasn't quite so absolutely smooth, I guess, on the outside. That kind of made a difference for me, and I really like this one. I'm sure this one will be okay as well, but that was kind of what made that one stand out from the pack of a lot of different sponges and make it more like a beauty blender. So just saying, this is not exactly like your Total Face Sponge that you're normally going to get, except for the cut. You're also getting in this set the Poreless Putty Primer. They're giving you a jelly highlighter and also a plumping lip gloss in here as well. The shade is called Champagne Gleam, and it just looks kind of like a peachy, soft golden plumping gloss. So I'm going to work a few of these things into the look today. I'll start off with the primer, but not the one in the container, because I already had this Poreless Putty Primer. I'm not sure if I'll do every step of the face on camera today. What should I do? I guess I might as well. But Poreless Putty, I think it's a good product. I've talked about it before, though, as if we're talking about how similar are you to Tatcha, which was kind of the catalyst, I think, for this style of primer. I do think there's something a little more similar to that texture-wise, and that would be the one from Hard Candy that's kind of like this, but it's just got a little more creaminess to it. This one, I'm not saying I dislike it, and I think it does do things for the pores, and the overall texture of the skin gets really nicely smoothed out, but there is some drag sort of across the skin. It's just a little bit drier than that Hard Candy one, and also the Tatcha. Still, if you were giving it as part of a little sampler set, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing, and it might open somebody up to a very unique kind of primer that they've never tried before. Now I'm just going to use some foundation that I have that's by e.l.f. This is in the shade Sand. I'm really surprised. I've been thinking about this as I made, you know, some purchases here off of e.l.f.'s website recently. Thinking about the fact that they don't have like a lot of foundation options. You know, they've put out this foundation. They do have a BB cream. They do have like that really sheer, beautifully bare collection and stuff, but there's not really a lot of different foundation options, and I would almost expect them to do a little bit more in that category of their brand. Not saying they absolutely need to. I mean, this is kind of a nice all-purpose foundation. I'll be honest, I haven't used it in quite a while, but I never really disliked it, because this has been e.l.f.'s foundation for years now, quite a few years, right? I'm not saying get rid of it or anything. I'm just noting that that's a segment of their brand that we haven't seen a lot of change in. Okay, so I've got that all blended in, straight up medium coverage on this, and the sponge is really big and really soft, and it does a good job, but again, there was just something kind of special about the one that you buy individually. I don't know. You tell me your thoughts as well. Actually, I think I'm going to keep using this, and I'm going to grab out some e.l.f. concealer. Today, let's use the hydrating. In the hydrating camo concealer, I wear Light Peach. Really like this stuff. I mean, I've been such a fan of the coverage level, and I think it's just really proof that you don't have to spend a lot to get a great full coverage concealer, plus something that's not going to completely dry you out on the under eye. So I'm just gonna press this in. I'm using my sponge first, and then if I have any trouble getting to certain areas, I can go in with another kind of applicator. But just overall, first, I'm tapping around there. This sponge is just really, really big, and it doesn't give you a lot of resistance, you know? Like, it's just super soft and super big. Like you're trying to press it into a little area like the side of the nose, for example, and you're pressing and pressing and pressing, but it's just so soft. It's just squish, squish. Is any of this making sense? I don't know. I'm just taking my little Real Techniques paddle brush. Oh, and of course, in classic e.l.f. form, I placed an order for some things. I think, okay, I'm on top of all the newness that I need from e.l.f., and then they come out with some of these paddle style brushes. So I guess another order is in my future down the road here. But I like just missed the boat on it. Does that happen to anybody else? Timing was just a little off to miss out on those. Or maybe it was just user error and I just missed them on the website. I don't know. Okie dokie, I've got that concealer all nicely blended in. It really, you know, upped the coverage in certain areas where the foundation was kind of straight up medium. This gave me full. Not a holiday set item, but, you know, we're just talking e.l.f. now. Then I'm gonna use this just Prime and Stay finishing powder from e.l.f. It's nothing super, like, incredible. It's a really cheap product from e.l.f.'s website, but it can suffice, you know, just to do a little setting on the under eye and T-zone. My deal with this is that I think it just looks a little powdery on the skin. Like it took a pretty good texture there on the under eye and now I'm seeing stuff a little bit more. Oh, I guess I could have used my Sheer Tint finishing powder. That's a really good one. Offers a little bit more coverage all over. Very soft powder. I'll just show you. I forgot about that for a split second. This is called the Sheer Tint Finishing Powder, and it is some of the smoothest, most buttery, great quality powder you're gonna find. Really soft, just lovely, underrated e.l.f. product. Has been in the line for quite some time, actually. But another thing about it, as you saw, that light medium shade was a little deeper than what I was setting my T-zone and under eye with, and I may not have wanted to go like straight to that area with that kind of a powder. They also make a loose under eye setting powder, which is nice, so there's options. Next up, I got one of these palettes. This is probably the thing that I was most interested in holiday-wise from e.l.f. $10. Candied Cheeks palette. Comes in that box, and I've been playing with this for the last few days, and I gotta say I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice kind of compact sized palette. Do you remember when Makeup Revolution was putting out like face products and it was this kind of size? And it's really kind of a nice size, you know, 8 face products, but it's not too huge, right? And you're getting in here some bronzer options. I would say 2 matte bronzer options here and here. A couple of highlights / bronzer. You see what I'm saying over here? Both of these have shimmer. There are 2 shimmery blushes. One is up here, one is right down here. We're not talking a lot of shimmer, but a little, and then 2 matte blushes right here. And I've experimented with pretty much everything in here by now, and I feel like it's nicely pigmented, it's smooth, it's a nice little color mix. I should point out that I think the bronzer options in here are not universally workable, sadly. I wish they would have maybe made this one not quite so warm and toasty and put in something maybe a little bit deeper, but I'm going to work with it and I'm going to show you how it ends up on the skin. I'm going to use this really light bronzer first, and I'm just taking this around my hairline for a very, very light bronze. Let's see what it does on the contour. It's there, but it's super light. And now I'm going to take a little bit of that, and I've got this warm bronzer here, and now see what happens. It's kind of a warm, toasty, sunshiny bronzer. Just wanted to show you what each would do. You know, this one gives me a little more depth. I wouldn't want to go overboard with this shade on my skin tone, but it can do some work for you. It can be all right. The blushes are really my favorite part of this palette. I want to show you this shade right up here because it looks kind of light. It is one of the blushes with shimmer. It looks like kind of a dusty rose. It's really pretty on the cheeks. Like, the color is impressive. I like the little bit of glow. Oh, I'm enjoying it, guys. I'm really liking this blush. Oh, that's so pretty. But like the other colors here, really flattering as well, this beautiful pink. And then you got something that's a little bit deeper, you know, kind of like a toasty peach. This shade, while light, that's a very true peach, and that also does stand out on the skin. One thing I want to mention that I did see, and I'm gonna be probably talking about in a future video, are the putty blushes, okay? Putty blushes. Same kind of texture as their primer, but it's blush. And I got a couple of shades of that, and I just didn't want to mix that in with this palette, but just so you know, I came, I saw, and I got it. I also want to show you the highlight in here. I'm going to do this lighter highlight. This is really actually beautiful. Really pretty level of glow. You know, it's not straight up metallic, but you don't have to work too hard to get it to show. It's a really nice tone. And again, if you want to be kind of like Bronze Goddess all over, take a little bit of this just gently all over the skin. But I didn't forget about this kit, and there was a jelly highlighter in there. So let's tap a little bit of that on as well. The texture of this, you know, it wiggles and jiggles. It's a Jello jiggler, guys. It seems like a little bit of this would go a really long way. Once you get some on your fingers, it just feels super thin and seems like the kind of thing that could look quite metallic on, you know, just a really standout kind of highlight. I'm using it so light. It kind of wants to cling in there fast on the skin. I wouldn't go dotting it around, leaving it be, and then trying to come back and blend it. It just seems to want to set kind of quick. That's okay if you just stay on it, but look at that glow. My goodness. I mean, wow. Would a person be like having this for their entire life? Because I only got a tiny bit on my fingers. Okay, next level highlight. You know if you've got a friend who wants that. So we used the blush palette. We used most of that kit so far. You know what? I'm gonna pop on the plumping gloss, and then maybe by the end of the video, I've got another lip thing I might throw on. But again, Champagne Gleam Lip Plumping Gloss. This is a plumper that you do actually feel. You feel a little tingle. Some people might like that, some people might not, but it does fade after just a short amount of time. But it's thick. It would definitely hang on the lips a while. The other day I was wearing this sort of on top of something else, and I felt like it was on for quite a while because there's a thickness and just a little stickiness, and sometimes that's what helps a gloss actually last. But as you can see, with nothing else on my lips, I've got a little shimmer, but it's overall really, really sheer. Now to just kind of move things along, I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows off camera so we can get right to that eyeshadow palette. We're back. How about these glowing cheeks? I can't quite get used to seeing that amount of glow in my little camera monitor thing here, but we're gonna move on to the eyeshadow palette. It's this one, guys. I saw this online. I thought that's definitely something I want to check out. It's called the Haute Chocolate or Haute Chocolate Eyes, and it is another $10 palette. Same palette size and kind of packaging look as the blush palette. But yeah, this is what we're working with. We've got a lot of rich, warm mattes. We've got some more neutral mattes as well. We've got some metallic shades that are a pretty nice texture. We've also got some Flake City shades here, just absolute flakiness. I've used this palette for a couple days and I've done a couple of very different looks, so the versatility is there. But my gosh, like the other day when I was playing with like this shade, and I thought I'm sitting here in front of my mirror, I've got it all confined, I'm really working it, and a couple hours later, I'm washing my hands, I catch my face in the mirror, and I've got all this sparkle just literally all over my face. So, you know, I thought it was a little flaky in application, but I thought I had a handle on it. Yeah, I know I've documented a couple of the looks I've done with this so far. I did a really warm look, and then I kind of popped it with one of the icy, more sparkly shades on the lid, and I thought that was really pretty. You know, it popped. Then I decided, okay, let's play with the green. Well, you know, the green, while it's shimmery, it looks very like emerald to me in this palette, and I feel like it looks a little less pure, maybe a little more murky on the eyes. I'm not trying to totally drag it, but it's not 100% what you see is what you get there on that shade. So let's see where to begin today. I think I'm going to start with this peach up here. Start with that in the crease. Overall, I feel like the quality of the mattes reminds me a lot of what e.l.f. has put out in other palettes. It's been really good. It's just some of these shimmers, the smooth ones, the metallic ones, are easy, you know, easy to work with, self-explanatory. And then you run into some of these that are just really light and flaky, and I can tell they're trying to do something different, you know, make it kind of a topper shade, give it a different look as it overlaps with something else. That's fine and all, but we need a little more richness in those shades too, so they're not user-friendly, they're user-unfriendly. Okay, next I'm gonna go into this rusty shade right up here. Again, there's pigment, it's nice and rich. It is what you see is what you get. And we're adding a little heat to the crease. Just pretty much to the outer crease right now with that. I just think, you know, eyeshadow wise, there is so much out there. There's so much to choose from. If I were gonna recommend like a top larger e.l.f. eyeshadow palette, I would probably steer you more in the direction of the new Classics palette. Just because it is more basic, but it's kind of like everything you want and need. So I got that all blended, and then we do have a matte kind of off-white right up here that I will use as my highlight. There's a couple of shimmery kind of reddish shades, the one down here and the one over on the side. Actually, the one on the side, that one, has a lot more neutral in it. You can see the difference on my fingers, and then the one on my middle finger there on the bottom row, much more of like a kind of a pinky ruby red, okay? But for the lid, one shade I haven't played with yet is this really, oh, rain alert, this really yellowish gold. It's a very, very yellowy gold. Sometimes I'm not always a fan of the yellowy gold. I like more of a gentle gold. But this is very, very yellowy, and I'm going to stick that right like in the center of the lid. So I can do something else on the outside and maybe another choice of shade on the inside too. But you see that? It's pigmented. That one pretty much is what you see is what you get, right? Now on the inside part, here's a shade I've played with. It's kind of different. It's peachy and it's very, very light, and it's got almost like a little bit of a greenish shift. I use that on the inner part of the eye, kind of overlapping my green. And while I thought the look was really interesting right after I put it on, that color flaked everywhere, really. Let's try a little bit of this shade. This shade seems really bright. See if we can get that to really adhere. You know, it might be a matter of pulling in like a glitter glue or some kind of even more tacky base than Milani eyeshadow primer with some of this. But, okay, I can already see it like out of the corner of my eye falling down, you know, this shade. The thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, I can see a little snowstorm happening over here. And that didn't really have the impact I hoped it would. How about this shade down here, this one in the lower corner? This comes off like, that's not the right finger, just try to swatch that on. It comes off kind of like light pink, a little bit iridescent. See, they're trying to do something different. And I respect like the interesting shade choice, but they're just so dry and flaky, and that really applied with a brush, that doesn't look like much either. Let's take some of this deeper shade, like at a glance it looks like it's got some red in it. Let's get a little bit of that on the outer corner here. Give the gold something to fade into. It's not really that deep, it's like just a brown with a hint of red, medium brown. And let's also show some of this dark brown. So this would be our darkest in the palette, the dark matte brown. And if we overlap a little bit of that, you can definitely see the depth impact there. That's an important shade to have in the palette, I think. I don't want to cover up too much of that gold. But my goal here was kind of to show you this look plus the other couple that I'd done. You can get a few really distinctly different looks with this palette. You could also easily pull off an all matte eye and it wouldn't have to be super warm, but you do have that option. Okay, so that's kind of, the brown is outer part of the lid, outer part of the crease. I feel I need to go in with brushes flying everywhere. And did anybody catch it? The fallout from the brown. Dang. And not that it has to be applied with the finger, but I'm running out of clean brushes. And just pat some of that gold back on there. I didn't want to lose that quite as much as I did. That's a strong shade in this palette. Okay. To me, this feels like a really fall palette. What does a Christmas eyeshadow palette feel like to you? Let's open up that discussion. I guess it can be anything. It could be anything you want it to be. This, like I said, while you wouldn't have to go more matte in your crease, there definitely is a strong, warm matte presence in this one. Just the nature of those shades is really bold and they can really take over a look. So you may be prone to using those, but you do have these three cooler mattes right here. So it gives you kind of room to play. There are options here. I think the thing that irritates me most is just knowing that this shade, and this shade just can be, they're little troublemakers, you know? They're mischievous. They're going places they shouldn't be going. You need a baby gate for those, okay? They flake. They go everywhere. Under the eye, I'm just going to smudge a little bit more of this dark brown. Can't really complain about the mattes too much. I mean, they're soft, they're nicely pigmented, they're a lot like what you've probably experienced from other matte e.l.f. eyeshadow products. The takeaway on this palette is I think it's decent. I think it's doing some really good things. It's not going to be a wholehearted shout it from the rooftops recommendation, but it's not the worst thing ever either. Can we be okay with that kind of analysis? So my eye look is complete. I'm going to pop on some mascara, and then I do want to talk about an e.l.f. lip product that has really impressed me. Boom, the mascara is on. Feeling good about the eye look overall, but you know, you heard what I had to say about the palette. Now we're going to talk about a lip thing. I've really been on the liquid lipstick train lately, and I realized I wasn't very familiar with what e.l.f. was offering where that's concerned. And I got online and I saw they had this sheer matte liquid lipstick. This is in the shade called Nude Rose. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting to try. And I really, really like it. I just removed the lip plumper stuff. We have a little doe foot here with a hole in it. That's fine. Okay, was L'Oreal doing that for a little while with some things? But you pop it on and it does feel like so thin, so thin, but it's still pretty opaque. Like, they call it sheer matte, but you be the judge here. I think that looks pretty opaque. Even blotting it to my top lip, like, it feels like a stain, but with the opacity of a liquid lipstick. I'm going to try to keep a closer eye on the staying power today. I was wearing this yesterday and I kind of, you know, life happened and I sort of forgot to keep checking back on this. But what I can tell you is that it does set. So this is going to sit there and it's not going to stay like creamy to the touch. You're going to be able to touch your lips. You're going to be able to drink out of your cups and you're not going to see it like transferring off, but it's next level thin. So I was very excited to see that. And I do like this shade actually. So not really a holiday product, just an individual thing that I wanted to talk about. So let's review, friends. This kit, the Best of e.l.f., I think is really a pretty good kit. You're getting full-size stuff in here. This primer is kind of a fun thing to try. The lip plumping gloss is nice quality. That highlighter, extremely potent highlighter, and you're getting really a lot of product. This sponge, I just think it's a little misleading that they named this their total face sponge when it's really not the same texture, because that other one had a really special texture. It still works well. It's not going to feel too firm. If anything, it might feel a little too soft as you put it on, but it's a decent sponge. Now, these two different palettes, I really like the face one, the one that has the different bronzer options. The blushes and highlights I feel like are an even stronger element of this palette. I love that they all show up. I like that they're all their own special unique shade. A really nice highlighter in here as well. I think you really can't go wrong. I think it's a great deal for $10. The eyeshadow palette, on the other hand, while I think it does offer some versatility, there's a few frustrating shades in there that are going to kind of make life a little difficult, and it will frustrate you because you think, ooh, this is a unique shade. This will put a new twist on my look. Let me just tap this in over here. Or, you know, they're very much shades that draw you to layer them over another color, right? Or at least partially. But you do that and they have not as much to cling to. And I think that's part of why you end up with a ton of sparkly fallout from those shades. And so if I were to give this like a number out of 10 ranking, I'd give it maybe like a 6 out of 10. There's so much out there eyeshadow wise. I've used that BH Cosmetics Naughty palette a few times, been playing with that. Granted, it's more expensive than this, but that is quite a palette. Now before I go, go, I just wanted to pop onto e.l.f.'s website and shout out any other things that I might not have picked up because I already had the products and it didn't really make sense for me to buy the whole kit. But there's the Gimme Some Sugar lip balm set that gives you several of those ride or die lip balms, which are really, really nice. Super pigmented color, amazing feel on the lips. That's a nice little trio of products there for $10. It looks like they've got a best of e.l.f. skincare set. If you see that Holy Hydration face cream showing up in any sets, that is a great face cream. That's in my rotation for what I use sometimes before my makeup. I'm seeing some brush sets, but not necessarily like e.l.f. Can I just curate a brush set for you, like your best brushes, put them into a set, and it could be like Emily's Picks or something. Every time I see a brush set, I'm like, oh, it's got some of the things, but not all the things. They've got a great looking advent calendar that does contain the eyeshadow palette I used today, but it looks like a lot of other good nuggets of e.l.f. There's the Just Glow With It skincare set that has Holy Hydration and a couple of the Jelly Pop products. So worth checking out. I'll link to their website below in that gifts section so you can scroll through some of their different options, because there's just many different configurations of things. But thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video. My e.l.f. fans out there, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.